So welcome one and all. We have a bunch of things to see tonight, but the first thing we have to do is to acknowledge our gracious sponsor. I want to thank Ira Promo sponsoring tonight. We dedicate our learning to Nishmat, Ira's beloved father, Yisrael David Ben Sion, Shem Shnab and Aliyah. And you don't know his name even. Okay. Among the three Chayalim who perished today is Hillel Ben Dani. Okay. And Hashem Yikom Damo. That's all you could say. Horrendous. Okay. Anyway, we'll learn. That's what the Jews do. We learn. The first thing I want to see tonight is did everyone get a sheet? Everyone? Yeah.
You're ready?
If you could go for it. And I'll just open in the back here. The Ron has a particular presentation.
Rabbi, where are you holding?
A little bit doubling. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, where are you holding?
We're on Tet Zayin and Bet, but I want to see something in the Ran, which I hope you have in the back of your Gemara. It'll be in the Dape Arif on page. Where's mine? Over here. Page Yud Aleph. It should be no, not Yud Aleph. Hold on. Oh, the different layout's different in this one. Great, lucky me. We're looking for. Oh wait, no, I was just in the wrong spot here. Hold on. One more minute. Yeah, here. Okay, it's Daf Gimel in the Rif, in the Dape HaRif. So if you're in the back of your Gemara, if you have the sheet from last time, golden. It's the side that has a lot of writing on it. They both do. It's the side without the koteret. The side without the koteret. The Ran Dibur Amat Rosh Hashanah Kol Ba'ay Olam Ovrim Lefanav Kivnei Maran and Farish Gemara. Do you see that there? Okay, Daf Gimel Amid Aleph. So I'll hold, if I can just hold this one for a minute. It's this one. It doesn't have the koteret on it. Okay. And it's on the what is it? The left-hand side of the sheet. Rosh Hashanah. Two big words. Rosh Hashanah Kol Ba'ay Olam over here. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Rosh Hashanah Kol Ba'ay Olam. The Ran thought this was important for us to know. So, and you note that the Mishnah on Tet Zayin Aleph had quoted a pasuk. And the pasuk was a pasuk actually that we say every Shabbos, every Yontif, Tilim Lamed Gimel, Hayotzer Yachad Libam Mevin Kol Ma'aseyim, right? God fashions all of their hearts together, and He understands all of their deeds. So the Ran explains, Shenem Hayotzer Mefarish B'Gemara Dahikam Hayotzer Ro'eh Yachad Libam Mevin Kol Ma'aseyim. That's what the Gemara will say. V'yesh lish'ol. We should ask. Lama Adam Nidan Rosh Hashanah Yotemi B'Sha'ar Yamim. Why should a person be judged more on Rosh Hashanah than the rest of the year? The Bishlam Sha'ar Dvarim Dahainu Tavua Upeirot Ha'ilan Umayim Kol Echad Bizman Nidon. We see that other things they have other days, specific days. Okay, I get it. They're not alive. They're not animate. They have a fiscal year. Fine. Kedamrinan Gemara the Pesach Zman Tavuahu. Zman Perot Ha'ilan, V'chag Zman Gishmei Shana. The reason they're judged at that time, Tvua, Perot, and Mayim, is because that's the height of their season, right? You're about to go to the harvest of the Tvua in the spring, and the fruit in the summer, and the rainy season is about to start in the fall. So it makes sense. Aval Adam, Lama Huni Dam Rosh Hashanah Yotem B'Sha'ar Yamim. Why Dafka and Rosh Hashanah? V'teirutz davar zeh lamadnu midigarsina b'psikta, as we learn in the psikta, b'shem Rabbi Eliezer b'pasuk dirshu Hashem b'matzo detanya be'esrim v'chamisha be'elul. The pasuk everybody knows from the new fast day Haftorah. Dirshu Hashem b'matzo Yeshaya Nun Dalet and Nun Hey. That section. Call out to God where He is found. Detanya, as we learn. The world is created on the 25th of Elul. So says Rabbi Eliezer. Well, first of the wide lines. Hadatani b'Gemara Rabbi Eliezer Omer b'Tishrei Nivra ha'olam Agmar briato ka'amrinan. The Adam Arishon Shaboni Gmar ha'olam Nivra b'Yom Shishi the Haina b'Echad b'Tishrei. Right? We seem to follow the rule, the approach of Rabbi Eliezer. He says the world is created 25 Tishrei, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. There's no 30. And so day 1 is day 6 of creation. That's when Adam Rishon is created, the end of that time. So we garsina tu hatam psikta nimtza omer b'Rosh Hashanah nivra Adam Harishon. Right? So it turns out that on Rosh Hashanah, humanity was created. Sharishona alu machshava. In the first hour of that sixth day, it was God thought to do it. Shniya nitya eitz imalach yashar nase adam bishlosha kines afaro. He gathered together the dirt, the earth. Bidalid gavlo. Gavlo is gibul is kneading. Bashem behe rikmo. He weaved whatever he's weaving. Bevav asa a golem. A golem means an inanimate figure, but perhaps in the shape of a human. Bezayin zark bo neshama. The seventh hour he got his neshama. Becherich nisol gan Eden. In the eighth hour he went into Gan Eden. B'chit nitztaveh. In the ninth hour he was commanded. Ba'asirit sarach. He already sinned in the 10th hour. B'chatasrei nidon. In the 11th hour he was judged. B'shtemisrei yatze b'dimus. Yatze b'dimus, he was granted clemency. He was pardoned. Even though he was judged, he was pardoned. It's in the air now. So I said, yeah. Okay. We don't have to go any farther there. We'll just keep going. Amar lo Kodesh Baruch Hu, Zeh siman levanecha. This is a sign for your progeny, for your children. Geshem shemanu telefana bedin b'yom zeh v'yatzat b'dimus. Kach atidin banech liot omdim lefanai bedin b'yom zeh v'yotzin b'dimus. Right? So it will be in the future also. They'll also be granted a pardon and clemency. Right? They'll be judged, but there'll be rachamim as part of it as well. V'chol zeh imatai. When will this be? B'chodesh hashvi be'echad lachodesh. 7th month, 1st of the month. Remember, if you look in the Sefer Torah, in Parshat Emor, it doesn't say, just as you have to blow the shofar. It doesn't say you're going to be judged. Umikan samach lama adam nidon b'Rosh Hashanah. It's because of that the Mishnah understands the person is judged on Rosh Hashanah yotemi b'shar yamim, more than other days, because the first person, the first human being, was judged at the beginning of his life because of a sin on the very first day. In other words, the judgment is Adam Nidon B'chol Yom, so to speak, like one of the other Deot had said later on. But we're following the pattern of Adam Arishon, since his first day was the day he sinned and the day he got some kind of pardon or clemency. Okay, so that's going to be the day of judgment moving through the years. Yep.
Why is this a finish? We've known this. I mean, this has been in many places, hasn't it? These types of conflicts. It was created, and it was Adam Rishon, or is this a finish?
Well, don't forget, we had a machloket in the Gemara. When is the world created? In Tishrei or in Nisan? Remember, Rabbi Eliezer holds it's Tishrei, but Rabbi Yehoshua holds it's Nisan. And here,
What was George's question?
he just wanted to know: is this really a chiddush? We know about this already. We've heard about it many times, so it's well known. But it's kind of an argument that's circular, right? I knew about it, so it's obvious. Well, why is it obvious? Because I already knew about it, right? So that's the issue. I mean, if it turns out Rosh Hashanah is not really Rosh Hashanah, we're spending a lot of time saying a lot of words, right? But the Ran is saying, look, when you look in the Psikta, it's telling you that's why this is the day. That's why it's the day. There's more. We're going to keep going. There's other signs of it as well. Huh?
How do you write and relate to Hayom Harat Olam?
Refers to the Bria of Adam Arishon. Hayom Harat Olam, Hayom Yamid B'Mishpat Kol Yitzrei Olamim. That's Aleph Tishrei. Exactly. Now, the Randa goes farther. V'af b'shamayim yesh ot. Even in the sky, in the heavens, there's a sign. Shemazal HaChodesh hazeh moznayim. The mazel in this time is the scales. Yeah. Kibo palas umozne mishpat laHashem. So now's the time of the balance and the weighing out of the judgment of Hashem. Ulafizeh hada amarina on Beperek ra'uhu beiti, and the fact that further along on page Chav Zayin, kind of preempting, but I can't wait all the way till there because it'll be 2 years till we get there, right? And the Gemara will ask, Kiman matzlin ha'idna, ze hayom tchilat ma'asecha zikaron liyom rishon. Kiman, Rabbi Eliezer, right? According to who are we davening now in our siddur? The Gemara knows that there's already a siddur, right? I mean, obvious. The core of the siddur is already, obviously, from the Torah, from Tillim, but Achik Knesset Gdola, right? The brachot, Shemon Esrei, all that. So who are we following now? We say, today is the day, the beginning of your action, a remembrance of the first day. That's following Rabbi Eliezer. Al Yitzirat Adam Ka'amrinan. That's to Judah's note. You know, what does it mean? Today the world is born. Doesn't mean the creation of Yehior or the word Bereshit. It means Nasa Adam and the creation of humanity on that day. Ava b'chafei be'elul tchilat briyat ha'olamhu. But the beginning of the world, absent humanity, that's 25 to Elul. Ulekach nagu beBarcelona ve'ugliloteha lahashkim b'ashmor haboker b'chafei be'elul. And therefore, in Barcelona and its surrounding area, they would get up very, very early on Kaf Hey Elul. Umiu hanimilik Rabbi Eliezer atyan. All of this, however, the truth is going according to Rabbi Eliezer, right? De'ilul Rabbi Yehoshua damar b'nisan nivra olam ein leze inin klal. Although you could argue it, right? Rabbi Yehoshua thinks in Nisan the world is created. It's not related to creation. Yeah. By the by, Rabbi Yehoshua would have to still admit that the constellation is still of Moznayim, of the scales. Now, of course, are those mazalot, which are essentially lines drawn between the dots of the stars, discovered or invented? It's not an ikar of Emunah in my book, in my view. I could be wrong about this. I don't think it's an ikar of Emunah to believe that they were discovered. I think a person could just as easily believe that they were invented, which means, though, that it's in the air. People understand the Moznayim time. Ooh, it's a serious time. It's a time, by the way, where everything is about in vegetation in various climates is going to die. Yeah, the end of the harvest, the end of the rain is coming. Yeah, so that's Moznayim. So people are thinking, oh, okay, so even if it, in some cosmic sense, it was originally Adam Nida B'chol Yom, yeah, or Ad B'Shal Chol Shah. We had those dayot in the Gemara. Al Tidag. In the end, Chazal established this is the time for Rosh Hashanah. It means that's really in Shemayim what they're going to do. Almost like the Chachamim are deciding through Rebbeinu Shalom, this is when it's going to be. Why? Because that's what people decided according to the right. So it starts. I'm theorizing. You understand what I'm saying? But that would still be an escape hatch, even if Rabbi Yehoshua is correct. The world was created in the month of Nisan. Who cares? Peace still is the Moznayim, and that's what was established by Chazal at the time to observe Rosh Hashanah, and it fits with the fact that there is a herald. More so that you don't have that herald exists in the Mikdash every day, but in the rest of the world, there's one day of the year, Rosh Hashanah. You're going to blow Shabbat, and then we have 2 days. Yeah, okay. So I've got the Tana Gemara, the Chachmei Samban in the Mabul, Rabbi Eliezer Litkuf Rabbi Yehoshua. Even though in the Gemara we learned that the Chachmei Yisrael follow for the Mabul, for the chronology of the Mabul, year 600, 601, etc. They follow Rabbi Eliezer's count, i.e., the Rabbanan think that the flood began when it says the second month. It means the month of Mar Cheshvan and not the month of Iyar. But when it comes to the Tkufa, counting seasons, they'll begin the count of all the seasons, which is an ongoing chronology from the time of the creation of humanity. That they'll start from Rabbi Yeshua's time, which is from Nisan. Umidamoni the Tkufa Rabbi Yehoshua, Masvar Le de Benisan Nivra Olam. So if you hold according to the Tkufa, like Rabbi Yehoshua, sounds like in Nisan was the world created. Ikalamemar, you could say, Dechima Ninan Letkufa, Kirabi Yehoshua, Lav Mishvum Disvurilan Kavate, Bamai Da'amar de Benisan Nivra Olam. But maybe you could say the reason that even though the Chachamim follow Rabbi Yehoshua for the count of Tkufot, there are 4 seasons, 4 periods of time called 4 Tikufot, and there's Tkufat Nisan, Tkufat Tammuz, Tkufat Tishrei, and Tkufat Tevet. We're coming to Tkufat Tevet. We're on the road, yeah. So Ella, no, maybe really they follow that the chronology of Rabbi Yehoshua, but they don't agree that's when the world was created. Oh, sorry, so we'll stop there. But maybe the Chachamim follow Rabbi Yehoshua for seasons, the solar year, because that's when things start growing. That's all. That's why they said, follow Rabbi Yehoshua, that it goes according to Nisan. It's like it's good to start the clock when things start growing, because Tkufot is what tells us about different seasons when it has to do with agricultural issues. The Tainach, Rabbi Eliezer. This all works according to Rabbi Eliezer. But I still have a question here. Rabbi Yehoshua. The Amar, the Benisan Nivra Olam. Akati Hadra Kushan L'Duchta. Lama Nidon Rosh Hashanah Yotem B'Shar Yamim. Yeah. So I still have a question according to all this. Okay, so Taka, according to Rabbi Yehoshua, why is Rosh Hashanah in Tishrei? Rosh Hashanah should be in Nisan. For Rabbi Yehoshua, Tishrei is nothing. It's another month. And there's the blowing of the shofar. No. Question?
Why do we assume it's nothing and not just a link from the creation of the world? For Rabbi Yehoshua. Meaning Rabbi Yehoshua could hold.
Taka.
But he can say that we don't judge in Nisan, we judge in Tishrei because it's the seventh month.
Yeah.
He could have it.
He could have an right. Well said. And let's see what the Ran's going to do with it. So he says, "V'nira li sheratza hamakom lezakot et Yisrael b'dinam v'ratza ladun et Yisrael bizman shehukba lekapar v'lislicha." God wanted to judge the Jewish people, actually the world, but particularly the Jewish people, at a time that is already established as the time of atonement and forgiveness. Because there's a big debate about when the world was created, but there's not a debate about the next piece. God was appeased on Yom Kippur. Hukba Yom Slicha L'Dorot. When was that? Chet HaEgel. Remember? The chronology of that, we have a tradition, and you could pretty much map it out based on the psukim and Sefer Dvarim that describe Moshe Rabbeinu going up to the mountain, coming back from the mountain, going up to the mountain, coming back from the mountain. This is a 3 times 40. It does work out very, very handily that from Shivat Seba Tammuz, the amount of time he's up, comes down. Shavuot Seba Tammuz, he comes down, smashes the luchot, spends a day, goes back up, 4 days, 40 nights, comes back down, goes back up again for tefillah, comes back down. Rosh Chodesh Elul, Hashem calls him up, and he comes down. He stays there 40 days, 40 nights, it says. So 40 days, 40 nights, and Rosh Chodesh Elul. And he back to, right? So in other words, why is the judgment going to be in Tishrei for Rabbi Yehoshua? Because Yom Kippur is going to be in Tishrei, because that was the first time the nation ever got kapara. So we want the judgment to be just before the possibility of atonement. Right? So he says, Lefichach, Gazar Hashem, Sheyehei Adam Nidam Rosh Hashanah. God established or decreed that the judgment of a human being should be on Rosh Hashanah. Shet tzadikim gemurim nichtam la'al l'chaim. Entirely righteous people are written and sealed immediately for life. Ubeinonim harei gzar din shelahem eino nachtam el ad Yom Kippurim. The people who are mid-range, midline, so they're going to have to wait until Yom Kippur. Shu Yom Slicha v'chapara. They have 10 days to bring themselves up from Beinoni up to being tzaddikim. Harei nitna lahem Torah zman kedei shebo yifashru ma'aseihem. The Torah gave them therefore time that they should be able to move around in their actions. V'yashuva el Hashem. I'm going to pause here for a minute. I'm sorry. In the thought process of Rabbi Eliezer, he has to try to explain Yom Kippur, right? Because for him, he says, well, why Aleph Tishrei, which is in the Torah as a day called Rosh Hashanah? Because, it's not called Rosh Hashanah, but why is that the day we're blowing the shofar? Because that's the day Adam Rishon was created. Rabbi Yehoshua says, the fixed day is not Rosh Hashanah. The fixed day really is Yom Kippur. And there's a historical analog to it, which is the forgiveness the Jewish people received for Chet HaEgel. By the way, says Rabbi Yehoshua, now how am I going to find where Rosh Hashanah is going to be? Well, the Torah says it's Aleph Tishrei. It's right before the day of Slich Mechila Kapara, historically. What must that day be? It must be the day of Din. And therefore you can get ready for Slicha Mechila to earn it in a 10-day period. It could be also that during that last 10-day period, God was appeased with regard to Moshe Rabbeinu. He was completely appeased on that day. Yeah? It works out. Right? Now, Rabbi Yeshua's view actually makes, in a way, he says, like, more sense than Rabbi Eliezer. The fixed day where we know what the day is in the Torah is Yom Kippurim. Okay, so you back it up. V'od hoydatanya l'tkufa like Rabbi Yehoshua at yahacha kapashta. All right, and according to this idea that for the tkufa we follow Rabbi Yehoshua, it also works according to the Pshat. The Sfir the Benisan Nivra Olam, that he holds maybe that the world is created in Nisan. V'hadamrina perak ra'u beitin keman matzlin ha'idna zeb tchilat ma'asecha v'gomer katavti aleh b'makom b'siyat dishmaya I'm gonna write it over there. I wrote it over there. Well, Lafish zeh ein makom lakum be'ashmor b'chafei be'elul, and therefore he says, I think you really don't have to get up on 25 elul like Rabbi Eliezer holds because I don't think he's right. Well, Lafichach nagu b'gironia, Girona, v'glilotea, shelo lakum ad Rosh Hashanah, and get up early until Rosh Hashanah time for a start. You make tshuva. Umihu yesh makomet shmakdimin bechad be'elul v'yesh smach lemin hagan. And those who start getting up from Rosh Chodesh Elul and go straight, they have a good point. You know why? Because that's according to everyone, that's when Moshe Rabbeinu went up on Har Sinai. The Ran says, I really think that Rabbi Yeshua's idea makes more sense. There's more grounding for it in the story of the Torah about Slicha and Mechila. And the fact that the Torah also made a holiday just 10 days later could not be accidental. It must be that's the beginning of the runway towards Slicha and Mechila. When are you going to get Slicha and Mechila? You've been judged. And then it's going to be modified after the fact. Follow? Yeah. There's a Parsha bingo. It doesn't happen that often, but I'm not going to be here for Shabbos. Now you have a Dvar Torah for Shabbos. The Gemara debates a lot of different things, Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Eliezer, about what's going to happen on in Tishrei, what happens in Nisan. Remember, we saw this the Gemara. I won't go back there, no enough time. Daf Yud Amid Bet to Yud Aleph Amid Aleph. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua debated. So they debated this, they debated that. One of the things they didn't debate, Rosh Hashanah Yatsa Yosef Mibeit HaAsurin. Yosef gets out of prison. It's Rosh Hashanah. Now, he gets out of prison Rosh Hashanah. That's Parshat Miketz, obvious. He gets out of prison Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because Paro had dreams, right? Who had dreams right before Paro's dreams? The baker, the butler. No, but Yosef before. Baker, butler in the prison. This past week's Parsha. Why is everybody so nervous? It says in the Torah, in the end of Parshat Vayeshev, because we're coming up to Yom Huledet et Paro. And on his Yom Huledet, he will judge. And he will then have those dreams, and he realizes he's being judged. Rosh Hashanah, Yatsa Yosef mi Beit HaAsurim. Follow? And Paro, right? In Paro's world, he thinks he runs everything. He's running things, right? Because he thinks he's descended of some kind of hocus pocus with the sun god, with the Ra, with this, that, yeah. And in comes Yosef and tells him, you just had a dream that your whole system's about to fall to pieces, but I have a solution. Actually, God has a solution. Who? Kila Elokim, Pedro name. Exactly what told the baker in the book. And that's why everybody's nervous. Because on the king's birthday, the king realizes, I was born, I'm not going to live forever. And I start assessing, who am I? And what am I? And what have I accomplished? And who in my court is staying? And who's out of here am I going to send packing to the other world? They believed in the other world, in another world, right? Mm-hmm. Not the way we do, but that a very physical, corporeal. You understand? And now you have, I mean, you could give a shear in Shabbos table. Unbelievable. You pull out the Ran, by the way, but you see the linkage is Yosef, and it's the Yom Huledet et Paro that in the air is judgment. So Zayom Hayom Harat Olam Hayom Yamid B'Mishpat Zayom Tchen Ma'asecha Zikaron Yom Rishon. The Yom Rishon is the Yom Huledet of humanity, and it's the Yom Huledet of humanity means, and we're not going to live forever, and it means we understand that we're being judged. I had to throw that in Hashkafa in. I couldn't resist because you have the confluence. It's like Miketz and Hanukkah. You got everything moving in there. Okay, yeah.
This is the only place in all of Tanakh that the term Yom Huledet is used for birthday as we know it. It says Yom Huledet a few other times, but
not this.
Well, no, the other times it refers to literally the day somebody was born, not their birthday.
Oh, I see. But this was a birthday. This is my Paro. Paro knows when his birthday is, right? He knows exactly when his birthday is because he follows the solar calendar because everything goes according to seasons and the flooding with the Nile and the whole thing, right? It is entirely, and one last thing, it is entirely inconceivable in Paro's mind that the gods of Egypt, who are themselves controlling of and controlled by nature, would be in a situation where the Nile would cease to produce the proper amount of water, which would cause the crop to disappear. It was the breadbasket of the ancient Near East. It never had a famine, which was why, even though when you read the Misa, you read the dream. Do you have to be like a rocket scientist? Fat cows, then thin cows, lots of fat-looking wheat, and meager, measly looking wheat. What could it be? Because it's inconceivable that the society is going to fall apart, that the economy is about to collapse on their head. And that's when Yosef comes. He says, right? You don't say something? Yeah. Anyway, okay. So that's that. Now we'll go to the next part of the Gemara. And the reason why I doubled back here, you'll see the method of my madness, is the next thing we're going to see on Ted Zayin Bet in the Gemara is a well-known Gemara that nobody understands. Nobody. Everybody's trying to understand it, but it is incredibly cryptic. And we'll be left in the end with questions more than answers, but we'll try to see what some of the Rishonim had to say about it and learn it together. Ted Zayin Bet. Oh, Chuck.
But Paro's, just pause to think about this. Paro's birthday is by the solar calendar.
Let's say.
And now you have to reconcile with the lunar.
Okay. The point is, the birthday is a day today of celebration. I'm sure it was for him, but it was also a day of reckoning and of judgment. Could be that year. It turned out it was actually Rosh Hashanah. Do I know?
Okay.
By the way.
But the idea, you understand the idea of the, yeah.
Anybody happens to be in Barcelona, you can take a train to Verona. It's a little over an hour or so. Right, we still have some relics of Tifata
Rishonim. Yeah.
And
I've never been to Gerona, but one day I'll get to go see it. Okay.
If you go to Barcelona, you can just put an hour out.
From there. Okay.
Simple.
Yeah. Nice. I was in Barcelona once, but I got to see things from the Rajba, but we didn't get up to the to Gerona. Okay. So we're here in the Gemara. Ted Zayin Bet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines down. A fitting number. 10 lines down in the wide lines. First word in lines of V'niv Latam. In the wide lines. And we're starting Amarav Krus B'doi. Amarav Krus B'doi, Amarav Yochanan. Shlosha Svarim Niftachin Rosh Hashanah. 3 books are opened on Rosh Hashanah. Echad Shel Rishayim Gemurin, Vechad Shel Tzadikim Gemurin, Vechad Shel Beinonim. Of course, the first thing to say is there aren't really 3 physical books anywhere. That should be obvious.
Art scroll. You can't get
Art
art
scroll.
scroll.
There's art scroll. It's not books, it's tablets. It's 3 tablets. It's in the cloud. The whole thing's in the cloud, if you know what I mean. Okay? Which begs the question, why was it important for Chazal to make sure we understood the imagination of books, things being written, right? Life as a book, it's written, there's a certain permanence to it, right? As we say in Ratana Toga, v'chotam yad kol adam bo, everyone's signature is in it. But it's interesting that we have a Sefer Torah. I could have just said there's a Rishima or something. Could have just said there's a scale and someone's dropping neshamas into it, mitzvahs and aver. But the image that we have, Davka, is of books. Just pointing it out. I don't know what it means. But it's definitely not physical. The entirely righteous people, they're written and sealed immediately for life. The entirely wicked, they're going to be signed and sealed right away immediately for death. Beinonim, the people who are a Beinoni means someone who's in the middle. They're in the middle. They're neither one nor the other. So them tluyin va'omdim Rosh Hashanah v'ad Yom Kippurim. They are they're floating, so to speak, in midair. Spiritually speaking, they're held in abeyance and they stand from Rosh Hashanah v'ad Yom Kippurim. Zachu, if they're meritorious, nichtavin l'chayim. They'll be written for life. Lo zachu nichtavin l'mita. Right, then they'll be written for death if they're not meritorious. Amar Rabbi Avin, Mikra. What does the pasuk mean in Sefer Tehillim when David HaMelech speaking about his own troubles with various enemies? Yimachu miSefer Chaim v'im tzadikim al yikatevu. So explains Rav Avin. Yimachu miSefer Chaim. That's Yamachu Misefer. Sorry, that's Zesifran Shel Rishayim. So we erase from the book. That's the Rishayim Gemurin. Sorry, the entirely wicked. Chaim Zesifran Shel Tzadikim. V'im Tzadikim, and with the Tzadikim, Al Yikatevu Zesifran Shel Beinonim. They don't merit to be written with the Tzadikim till they earn it on their own. Rabbi Nachman Bar Yitzchak Amar Mehacha. V'im Ayin Mecheninam Yisifrecha Shekatavta. Pasuk we're much more familiar with from the story of the aftermath of Chet Egel, or maybe it's the middle of the Chet, depending how you look at it. So, okay. Mechenina zesifran shel Rishaim. Erase me, that's the Rishaim book. Mesifrecha zesifran shel Tzadikim. Your book, that's the Sefer Tzadikim. Asher Katavta zesifran shel Beinonim. This is the book of the people in the middle, Beinonim. Yeah. So, as the Rishonim understood, and probably Rav Krus Bedoy understood, formula has some incredible problems. Because according to this formula, if you just read it as pshat, any person who dies at any given time must be their Rasha. And anybody who survives the year must be their big tzaddik. But how could it work that way? The Rishonim didn't think it works that way. You have to understand. So what's going on? What's troubling? Yeah, it gives us an understanding, and basically in the Sfarim say, we'll see the Rambam, you should think of yourself as a Beinoni. You don't think of yourself as a Rasha or a Tzaddik. Think of yourself as a Beinoni, meaning it all comes down to this, as we say in Haley baseball. Whatever's gonna happen, everything hangs in the balance now. But Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippurim. See, under the run, we have time to fix things. But there's a challenge here because people do pass away in a given year. So that year, they didn't make it. They were Russia. Very hard to understand. Very hard to understand. So right away, look at Rashi. Shlosh Sfarim, Rashi. Sifrei Zikaron Shel Maseh Habriot. Books of remembrance of the actions of the creatures. Which makes it sound like the books that are opened already, the Shlosh Sfarim that are opened, that are described by Rav Krus Bedoy, and the name of Rabbi Yochanan, when you open these books, it's already written who's already in what book based on their actions. There's already a Sefer Rishayim. Again, you have to get out of your head the idea that the Ribono Shel Olam is sitting with some kind of a stylus and writing it in the book. The book's writing itself. We write the book. How do we write the book? Through our actions. Either we make a book of Rishus, a book of Tzidkus, or a book that's Beinoni. So, according to Rashi, the Shlosh Sfarim Niftachin, and that are opening on Rosh Hashanah every year, are the books of remembrance of the actions. Right? It's not writing something in prospect, but the signature is in the prospect. Nichtavin v'nechtamin l'chayim means that it's written. I write till it's like a postscript. The grade, A+, signed by the teacher's name. Lahavdil. I mean, that's the whole thing's imagery. But then Rashi says, what does it mean that this is happening? It must be that there's some kind of accounting that's going on, and the accounting though has already happened, as it were. Yeah, not unfolding before our eyes now. Okay, something for consideration. So we'll pause here. Look at Tosfot. Tosfot obviously understood this problem. Tosfot at the bottom of the page. Yep. What is it, line 4 and then in wide lines. Beinonim. Yeah. But the fact that it mentions Beinonim, it's mentioned, so it's mashma, the tzadikim, gemurin, should be added there. Gemurim. Kari lami, shizchuyatav merubin. Tzadikim should be the people who have more merits. Rishayim gemurim, absolute wicked people. Lamisha avonotav merubin, have more sins. Upa'amim, we see that tzadikim nechtamim lamita. Urishayim gemurim l'chayim. Sometimes entirely righteous people pass away, God forbid, or entirely wicked people survive, God forbid. Dichtiv u'mishalem l'sonav el panav lahavido, from the Torah in Parshat Akev. Yeah. So the person's going to get, to the ones that God hates, He'll give them their recompense, their reward right now in this world, in order to destroy them in the next world. You see in the end of Parakam the Kiddushin, Mishnah Zechuyot Merubin, Ve'avonotav. You have a person whose merit is greater than his sins, and yet Doma Kimisha Sarfet Kol Torah Kul V'Shir Mimena Ot Achat, and yet the way that they live, because of how much suffering and privation they experience, you would think this person burned the whole Torah and didn't even leave one letter over, based on what happens. V'Avonotav Merubin Mizchuyotav, and if the person has more sins than merits, it would seem that it's as if they kept the whole Torah and didn't even leave out one letter because they live a good life. All of this is really, when it's referring to Mita and Chaim, it refers to, with regard to Russia, they get Mita no matter what. And the Tzadikim, they'll get Chaim no matter what. You know why? According to Tosfot, it'll have its own problems, don't you know? The judgment of Rosh Hashanah every year is whether the person's going to get Olam Haba or not. And every year they reassess, do they still deserve Olam Haba or not? And if they would die in that year, are they going to get Olam Haba or not? It has its merits. It explains some things. It takes us out of the problem of Tzaddik V'Ral Rosh V'Tovlo in this world. It turns out Rosh Hashanah is not for this world. Rosh Hashanah is for all time. And now if I wanted to play it out further, because the Shari Shemaim are open, so to speak, because all these things are happening, and now everything's being judged, the book was basically already written based on what we did the last year. So you want Olam Haba? Right? I'm coming to you in a second there. By the time you get to Yom Kippurim, everybody's already dressing in white, in a kittel. We're not eating, not wearing shoes. There's a concern before Yom Kippur starts. We better say vidui at Mincha. Shami Yechanek. Maybe I'm not going to make it to Yom Kippur. But what am I so nervous about? I have the whole year I eat a meal. I'd say vidui every time before I eat a meal. Halila. Because everybody's nervous because this is it. It's like a day we're out of the world because what's hanging in the balance for Tosfot, are you getting Olam Haba or not? And it gets reassessed each year. And but you'll ask me, so when is it decided how long a person's going to live? And those would say, I don't know, but that's not what's happening in Rosh Hashanah. It can't be, because it wouldn't fit this idea about the books being open and the tzaddikim are being signed for life immediately, and the Beinonim maybe, and the Rishayim it's for Mita. Yeah, Larry, you've been very patient. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What I'm not sure about is the word gemurim.
Entirely, completely.
I know what the word means.
Oh,
what I'm saying is, you take the biggest Russia. Was he a Russia Gamur?
Oh, good. Or does he have something to recommend him? Something to recommend him, yeah? Is that what you mean?
Sinwar must have been nice, maybe, to his wife. I don't know, or his girlfriend, whatever.
Maybe.
Take the Russia of your choice.
Yeah. There's like one little thing that they did. So how could you call him Russia Gomer? So one of the Rishonim says exactly that. I'm trying to remember now, because of course.
And we learned even the Nebuchadnezzar.
But no, hold on. But you were just miskaving to one of the Rishonim. Did you say who it is, Ronnie? You know who it is?
No, but I'm saying even the Nebuchadnezzar.
Right, even Nebuchadnezzar, he gave stock at some point. Correct. Point well taken. I'm trying to remember who it is. I saw so many different opinions. It's hard to hold together who's who anymore. Sorry. One of the Rishonim says your point. So that basically these are extremes that don't really exist. There's no tzaddikim gemurim and rishayim gemurim. I mean, there were tzaddikim gemurim, by the way, for people who never sinned, would have never died if not for the chait of Adam and Chava. There's death in the world, right? Binyamin, Amram, Kehat, and a few different people who were in that category. Chanoch. But by the idea that there's no one who's really literally going to be, tzaddik gamor means like muchlat, it's absolute, right? Or a Rasha gamor never did one thing, that one small little. So the point is, in real life, everybody's a Beinoni. According to that Rishon, I can't remember now who it is. I'm sorry, I'm way overtired.
All right.
Where I saw it, but when we get to it next, we learn. You'll remind me that it was in your name, that you were mechaving to it. I don't think it's the Ramban.
No, it was in the name of a Rishon.
Right. You'll say, well, you're right. You were miskaving to a Rishon. I'm trying to remember what it says, like the formulation of Gemurin. Again, everyone's wrestling with the same problem, right? How are we going to get out of the fact that according to this formulation, this Tzadikim Gemurim, Rishon Gemurim, not everybody makes it every year. So there were Shayim. Everyone's going to come to every Levaya and say, well, we see they must have been a Russia. Nobody lives forever. Everybody's a Russia in the end. That's not our way. That's not true. Many Tzadikim
Where
died.
did it say it was in that year? It just said the decision was made, but it could be for 5 years or 10 years down the road. That the decision was made.
With regard to the longevity of the life?
Right.
So it's another one of the Rishonim. You're catching me really off guard. Another one of the Rishonim has to do with longevity.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever they were given in terms of number of years can be shortened or lengthened. And
Each year it's decided.
yeah, and it would seem that among tzaddikim, very often at tzaddikim, that they don't have a Richus Yamim, and then they get a Richus Yamim a little more than they would have otherwise had, but that they were destined to have a shorter life, something like that.
In connection with what was just said, do we really know how long someone is supposed to live? That if they were a better person, instead of living till 80 or 85 or 90, exactly.
I don't know.
That's
We've
my
had that
point.
talk about longevity. Count the telomeres, measure the telomeres. Yeah, Ira, please.
But it seems to me.
In closing, it's 8 o'clock already. I gotta go.
No, it just seems to me that Gomer is superfluous to Russia is a Russia. He's a Russia.
So that's exactly what Larry's pointing out.
Yeah.
Gomor is like it's extreme. It's exaggerated.
Right.
Maybe to tell you nobody's going to be a tzaddik Gomor. Nobody's going to be a Rasha Gomor. Everybody's going to be somewhere in the middle of the story.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be in the middle of the story. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot more to say. I brought a packet of like 12 pages with the Chinuch, the Rambam, the Ramban, the Ravid in the Rambam. Until next time, my friends.
Next week there's no shir.
Oh, next week there's no shir. I'm going to do this correctly. Next week there's no shir. Whatever date. What date is that? Next week, the third. No shir next week on Hanukkah itself, ironically. But if you didn't come to the shir Sunday, you're welcome to watch it. It's already posted on YouTube. It'll go up. January 6th, we're back, and then we're straight until February 10, and then things are gonna start getting a little whatever. But okay, Adcon for tonight. Thanks for coming. We're not learning next week, but the week after. Sei gesund. All the